look who's here. Oh my gosh, and look how many chairs I found.
Bravo!
It's like a little miracle already, and we haven't even started. So I thank you all for coming. I thank you all for coming. You'll find that Ashley cannot be with us. This Michael will explain. Charlie is here.
Yay, Charlie!
He has his own rolling chair in case he needs to just slowly roll away. But thanks for coming, and I'm now going to go to the back. But seriously, there's 4 seats right there. What are you guys doing back there?
Come on.
It's like a synagogue, you know.
And plus, we need to close that door because the air.
I want to know I appreciate you all coming to my pre-funeral party.
Always bring the good cheer.
Did you hear that, Charlie? Linda-Denise said you always bring the good cheer. Hey everyone, thank you for being here. I'm Michael McStraw. I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Dance History Project. We are thrilled that there are so many familiar faces here to learn more about the organization and to have this fantastic panel. Before we start, though, I do want to officially thank Patti and Charlie for opening their home to us. I want to point out Sean Rafferty over on the video camera, because this will be documented for the Midwest Dance Collection at the Newberry Library. And we have Maddie Linaski over there, who's taking pictures, and another 2 members of our team who are helpful at every moment. Yes, Ashley Weeder is not here. And so he had knee surgery recently and has some recurring owies from that surgery. So he said that he sends his regrets, and he wrote this beautiful passage that I will weave in a little bit. But because Ashley didn't come, I then asked Nicole if she would want to step away from the moderator position and step in panelist, because she fits the mold of the requirements of being on this panel, right?
Yes.
Each of the people here are folks who now lead significant dance organizations in Chicago, but once danced for the founders of that organization. And each has a different path, each has, some have stayed, some have gone away and come back, but it's an extraordinary powerhouse. And if Ashley were here, collectively, those 5 organizations, including the Joffrey, represents more than 225 years of Chicago dance history.
Wow.
So, and I'm not a day over 31. So, so I'm just going to quickly introduce my dear friend Nan Giordano, Artistic Director of Giordano Dance Chicago. Next over is someone who asked what seat she should sit in, and I said the right answer. Linda-Denise Fisher-Harrell from Upper Street Dance Chicago. Nicole Clarke-Springer from Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. And some guy who walked in off the street, Jorge Perez, give me your title. It's lengthy.
Well, right now, with
Yeah.
our new 50th change, it's just Executive Director. We now have a new Associate Artistic Director, our beloved Jose Torres.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. So all of these folks are leaders in one way or another. And Jorge was a little bit of the outlier because he had the administrative side and the Associate Artistic Director, but we wanted him on this panel as well. So we're going to get started. Let me grab my notes. I already said that. Okay, we're on to page 2. We're doing good. So each of these folks, as I said, have led an organization, and they at one point or another had been under the tutelage of the founder or founders of that organization. Nan and Jorge grew up in the organizations they now lead, whereas both Nick and Linda D had been with the organization, went away, and now have come back. So Nan, I'm going to start with you. That's why I had you sit to my left. I want to know about your journey from dancer to artistic leader under your father, Gus Giordano. And I'm curious to know if this path was predetermined in any way, or if it just organically grew out of your relationship dancing for your father.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm honored to be at this prestigious table in the front. Our community is rich. I've just recently, in the last 2 weeks, been in both New York and in LA doing a couple of projects, and they do not have a community for sure like ours, so I'll start with that. You know, my father was the icon in the world, and also just for me personally, he was the light in my life, and at a very young age, I knew it was going to be my path. I'm the only one out of 4 that went into this business. It was not predetermined. I did get to decide for myself. And when I started taking ballet and modern, that was it. We were not allowed to take jazz at that time. Now it's a very different world. I had an immediate, well, maybe not so much for ballet. Sorry, Ashley. But I really had this passion for when I started jazz. That was starting to fuel my soul. I learned everything from my father and also my mother. So I saw my parents running from a not-for-profit dance company. 63 years is our current anniversary that we're just celebrating. And my 41st year at the helm.
All right.
Wow. But it was, I saw my mother run all the business side from running a school, my father's personal teaching schedule, the company, of course, and she was on the business side. Everything was operated out of our home. My father wrote a book. In 1976 it was published, and seeing all these greats from Bob Fosse, Alvin Ailey, all of these photographs in an 8x10 envelope in the mail with letters for his book. And I was curious at that time. I didn't really understand the magnitude, but it was certainly my path. It's my life, and it continues to be my bloodline, and my light and my energy to this day. I'm incredibly, perhaps more inspired now than I ever have been. What was the other part of the question? That you wanted me to answer?
I think you did.
Did I answer it well? Okay, great.
And well.
Okay, thank you.
So, Linda-Denise, as mentioned, you were in, and you moved away, and you did extraordinary things, and then you came back. Talk about your career path and what took you away, and what brought you back.
Okay, so I joined Hubbard Street Dance Chicago when I was 19 years old. Which was just 5 years ago. I performed with the company for 3 years. Then I joined the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, where that's what took me away.
Yeah.
I danced with them for 13 years, traveled the world, did an extensive rep under the direction of the legendary Judith Jamison. So that was incredible. I subsequently had my girls. I had my oldest daughter while I was in the Ailey company. And then I left 13 years later because it just didn't make sense. I couldn't juggle motherhood and being away as elegantly as I did in the beginning when she was a baby. And so I left, and then I became an educator. So I joined the faculty of Towson University and the Baltimore School for the Arts, which is also my alma mater. So I did that for 16 years, becoming a full professor. So I did the whole educational gamut. I have educated adults, professional dancers, middle schoolers, elementary schoolers. So I've done that whole thing, which has been incredible. I also became a scholar. I wrote, did a lot of documenting, and then in COVID, I asked myself, hey, is this it? Is this it for me? Is there some more stuff that I need to do? And artistic direction was a part of my life because I was the artistic director of the Towson University Dance Company. So I was already curating programs, I was bringing in guest artists to come in and choreograph on the students. We're doing little tours in Maryland and things like that. And I saw this opening for artistic director of Hubbard Street Dance Chicago. And I had been coming back to teach in the summer intensive at Hubbard Street, for like 8 years before. So I had a connection. Claire was a very good friend. She was working at Lou Conti's at the time, and she was like, you know what, this is before she passed. She even said something like, don't you want to come back? And I said, are you crazy? No. And you know what, I think it makes a lot of sense now that I look back on my experiences from leaving to this day. I'm able to talk to young people in a certain kind of way, and listen to them, really listen to them, really nurture them on a different level. And I think that is because of my educational background and working with so many different young people and really seeing them. And I think my dancers know that I really see them. I see dance in a different way because I've done so many different modalities and techniques in my career. So when I'm bringing in works to the company that has affected all of my life, has come out in what I'm doing now. So I hope that answers.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
I feel like we're like twins, our journey.
Yeah.
I started dancing with Deeply Rooted Dance Theater in 1996. I was 3. And so I danced with the company for 6 years. And what took me away was I felt like I needed more life experience. I think when we're young and we come into situations, into companies, we feel like we know it all. But I will say that I have a certain intuition and wisdom of knowing when I need to grow more and when I need to expand and go out and fail and figure it out and learn and grow. And so in doing so, I was able to dance with just gig and do other things, but I actually ended up meeting my husband and becoming a football wife or a Big Ten coach. So I followed went to a lot of universities. I taught at Western Kentucky, at Bowling Green State University, and eventually came back here to Chicago for Northwestern. And so I got a phone call before that, during that time of moving about, and I called and he says, I need a dance education director. And I thought, I think I can do that. So I would drive then from Louisville, Kentucky, back and forth every summer, and then every other month to, it's a journey, to be the dance education director for Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. And inside of that process was a lot of gentle learning. So you're sitting in the theater, and he leans over, Ike leans over, and he says, do you see how the wash is, on the backdrop? You don't want that to happen. And then he comes back and he never says anything again. Or he says, well, how about you join this development call? I had an arts administration degree from Butler, so I was like, that's right up my alley, I can do that. So it was slowly being prompted, nudged, sometimes it feels like pushed into this position. And when he finally decided that he was ready to move forward, he turned to me and said, I think that I want you to be the artistic director of Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. What do you think? And I said, I think I can do that. I think I'd like to do that. And so when you speak of being seen, I felt like I was seen from the very first time in 1996. As my tenure as a dance education director, growing me, seeing what was possible, and now being the artistic director, I was seen in that light, and I think I can step into it. So that's what we've been doing.
So I'm curious, as you had the little bits of nudge and being brought into different things, when did you realize that you were being molded for this position? When he asked you to do the job?
That, but I remember one instance I was sitting on my grandmother's porch, and we were having a meeting, and he kept asking these questions. And I finally stopped and said, he thinks I can do this. And then I stopped and I turned to myself again and said, I can. And I thought, okay, I see where we're headed with this. Okay, so that's when I thought, okay, there's something there, there. But then I also, the other side was, but this has been my dance dad. He's never leaving, right? He's always gonna be at the helm and I'm just gonna follow in his way. So we'll see what this is, but I kind of figured something was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So Jorge, you kind of fit the same pattern as Nan. You came into an organization and you've not left. So please talk about your journey in.
What keeps me there? Yes, this is actually my 41st season with the Ensemble Español. I did, yes. I didn't start at 3. I was in college, freshman, and I came through different doors entering Dame Libby's life. But anyone who knows Dame Libby, you just fall in love with the art form. That's the type of person that she was. And I was looking for a job at Northeastern Illinois University, where our company is in residence, for student aid job, and I selected the note. I can just see it now in student employment, and I went to see her, and there she was, manning the phones, and she was just going a mile a minute, and I sat down for the interview, and she immediately, Dame Libby always had this amazing vision of seeing beyond yourself. And all of a sudden, I'm here for a student aid job, and she's talking about, do you dance? Do you? And I get it with the need of male dancers that we need in our industry. I'm like, oh, okay, now I see it. But she immediately she gave me the job, and I think that semester said, why don't you take an intro to Spanish dance class? That did it. The music of the art form, because she taught us all styles of Spanish dance: classical, folkloric, flamenco. Oh my goodness! And then, as an American artist that she was, she also, which is part of our mission, flared in traditional dances but contemporary. And then to bring the magnitude of guest artists that she brought through those doors. I mean, there we are studying with the founding members of the National Ballet of Spain. Wow. There we had Nana Scheinflug. I mean, oh my God, when I saw her picture up there at the Shirley Mordino, I was like, oh my God, I studied with Nana because she was at Northeastern. It was like, wow, Ana Chayun, amazing masters right here locally. And then of course, these amazing guest artists. I just, never looked back. And I was telling this story at at Deborah Siegel's home for our honorees for See Chicago Dance. How did what would we do if we weren't doing this? I will say that in that freshman year, I had signed up for the Air Force. I blame this on my parents traveling to Puerto Rico since the age of 3 to visit Grandma and Grandpa every Christmas. There we were. So I imagine I fell in love with airplanes. And so I signed up for the Air Force, and when Dame Libby, I got into the company, our first international tour was the Cervantino Festival in Mexico. Six cities in Mexico, from Acapulco, Mexico DF, San Luis Potosí, Guadalajara, Guanajuato. I mean, from small theaters to 4,000 arenas. I came back, I sat my parents down. These are Puerto Rican parents who are working there to make a living here. I said, Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to the Air Force. I want to be a Spanish dancer. It didn't go too well. But later on, they did become my top fan supporters, coming, and supporting the fact that it also did like this part where, because Dame Libby, we were able to establish endowments at Northeastern for Spanish dance, so it helped me with my tuition. So Dad liked that. When he got to that, it's like, oh, you go dance, yeah, that's good. Knowing that I was getting tuition support. And then, if you didn't know this, but Dame Libby's, dream was to be in musical theater, and she studied with Gus Giordano as a teenager in Evanston for so many years. Her ultimate dream was to be a Raquette, and it wasn't through an audition of Jose Greco, the Italian immigrant who was looking for dancers to travel throughout the U.S., that she accidentally went with a friend And he asked her, what are you doing here? She said, oh, I'm here to accompany a friend. Oh, why don't you audition, take the class. And then when she got home that evening, her parents were up waiting for her, saying, who is this Jose Greco that called here who wants to take you with a band of gypsies across America? And that changed her life. So it's amazing how, you think you know what you want, and then amazing people come into your heart. And Irma Suarez-Ruiz, my partner in crime, was 46 years of the company. We couldn't have it any other way. I mean, she has her grandchildren, dancing with us, so I'm a grand stage dad. But right now it's like, okay, there wouldn't be anything else I wouldn't want to do, especially with the community that we have in our amazing city.
Sure.
Thank you all. It's a great way to begin this. I did want to say, this is meant to be conversational between and among all of us. Okay. So we will be passing the microphone, but please feel free to interrupt. Michael, what are you doing? Yeah. So I had shared that Ashley wrote a very beautiful message to all of you, and regrets that he's not here this evening. And I'm going to divide it into two parts, because the other part fits when we're talking about the community. But I'll read the beginning about his journey into Chicago. He said, in thinking back to the spring of 2007, when I was headhunted as a possible candidate for the position of artistic director for the Joffrey, my initial response was that it had been nearly 20 years since I was with the Joffrey Company. My career at San Francisco Ballet had included me in every aspect of the organization. After retirement, I became rehearsal director, then artistic assistant director. I felt this was my life's journey, and the next step would be to lead that company, the San Francisco Ballet. Who knew how long that would take, and would the board consider me for the position? In the meantime, my curiosity about the Joffrey grew. The summer of 2007, I brought a small group of San Francisco Ballet dancers to the Chicago Dance Festival. Helgi Thomason was not able to attend, so he came in Helgi's place. We arrived, Lar Lubavitch was running the festival with Jay Frankie, and it was this moment that Lar said to me, you need to come direct the Joffrey. There were many issues on many levels, but Lar felt I was the right person to take on the challenge. I was then asked if I would teach a company class for the Joffrey while I was there in Chicago. I didn't really know the company after so many years, but during the class I had this overwhelming emotion about Robert Joffrey, Gerald Arpino, and my time in the Joffrey and what this company stood for within American dance. It was an important company that had made many contributions to the art form. It also found a home in Chicago, a city I've always loved since arriving in the United States in 1984. So I agreed to meet the search committee. Over that week of meetings, classes, and engaging with the board of the Joffrey, it became clear to me that this American dance company had so many opportunities and a new artistic journey and an extraordinary opportunity for me personally. In September of 2007, I moved to Chicago to run the Joffrey. That's from Ashley. I'm finding this wonderful commonality about plans and serendipity, and how things were handed to you that you sometimes took or rebelled. Air Force, But I want to move into artistic direction as it comes to be having, for want of a better word, inherited an organization, an artistic journey, and you come in as now artistic director, and you have this history, but you want to make your own imprint. Linda D., I'm going to ask you first, what's that journey been like to take all that Hubbard Street had prior to your tenure, and what is it like shaping the future, putting your own imprint on this?
Number one, it's a huge responsibility. I feel like Hubbard Street is a legacy company. We're now in our 48th season. Wow. Yay! And I know how much hard work Lou Conti put into this organization. He was my boss, right? And so I always carry him with me when I make decisions. I always say, well, what would Lou do? What would, So we have a collection of wonderful works that we've had in the rep over the past 48 years. And I think that's a blessing. And so I never want to turn away from that work and take the company and make it something that it hasn't been. So I think my journey has been, how can I lean into that and be true to myself? right? So my journey has been extensive. Like, how do I see work? What are the choreographers I've never seen on the company? How can I bring them into the fold, right? So that the company is moving in elegant new ways. How do I go back and revisit some of the things that we captured in the past, right? It's 48 years of doing so many different choreographers' work. Some things don't age well, right? So I have to have that discernment of, okay, that was nice and let's leave that in the past. Or that was nice, how do we revisit and refresh it? Because there's nostalgia, and then there's nostalgia and bringing something fresh to a work. For instance, right now we're doing Percussion 4 by Bob Fosse, and that was a piece that was brought in, Lou brought that piece in 1990. It was for male body dancers. It was initially a solo that was in the show Fosse. And so I thought, you know what, we have this relationship with the Verdon Fosse legacy, we gotta go back and bring that in. Can we have some female body dancers do it, since I was never allowed to do it? You know, what does that look like? And it has been really incredible. I'm excited for the audience to see it, but I'm ever more excited to see the dancers taking on the work. You know, the work is older, but you would never know it, you know? It's a fresh approach. So that's what it's been like, and it's actually been a lot of fun. It's like having a lot of colors in your coloring box. You know what I mean? I got a lot of crayons to play with, because there's so many different ways to move. And so it's a legacy company. I feel like I'm responsible for the next 48 years and whether we're gonna survive. That's always on my plate and on my heart. But yeah, what can we lean into? How do I see myself as an artistic director? How can I imprint that on the company? How do I see new artists? New artists need platforms all the time. So how can I be a champion for them? How can I be a champion for different dancers coming into the company? So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
So I think some of the things you said tie into Nan's journey. We have a special guest. Where's Al Blackstone? Stand up, Al. Al is an extraordinary choreographer who is now the resident choreographer for Giordano Dance Chicago. So it's fitting that he's here. In the early 2000s, Giordano got money from the Community Trust.
That's right.
That kind of switched from being a legacy company into a rep company. So I think some of the things that you said are informed by your journey.
Yes, and running a legacy company comes with a lot of weight, and also a father that is an icon. It has a lot of weight. So we always honor the past, and our dancers are so proud to be part of a legacy company, but it's honoring the past, living today, and preparing for tomorrow. That's really how we run. And that change with the trust grant, we really started to sit into a repertory company. When I was dancing, I don't say years and I never say old, I say seasoned or many bodies ago. Because I'm not old and I still have a lot in me to push forward. But we were primarily doing my father's works. We would get sometimes the opportunity to have someone else come in, but primarily that was a financial thing because we didn't carry a board and all that before my arrival. It was my father, my mother, and Ann Barzell. That was the board, and it was really just figuring. When I came forward, really wanted to focus on becoming a repertory company. There's a lot of different voices in our discipline of jazz dance being the youngest of the major art forms, and also ensuring, as my father did for his life, to instill that jazz is a recognized art form and not just moving your shoulders and hips. So We really truly are, and Al's a testament. He just finished his third work today. We were in the studio, and it's absolutely magical. And it just makes you feel great and smile. And it's brilliant staging, choreography. So get ready for Al's newest work. But, you know, looking to others, I always like to have team. And try never to say me or I, because it really is a team in which I work. And bringing someone in like Al Blackstone is much more than just the current choreography. He is an advocate, a shoulder, an advisor in so many different levels.
Nick? Same questions.
Same question.
I find it interesting because, as you all know, my founder is still here. And so coming into this position requires a lot of trust on both sides, but there can be regenerative tensions. And not in, not a negative way, but it's almost equating, you're giving your child over to someone and you're like, yes, take them. And they like you better, do you think? But they're not really, but they're smiling more and it's like, well, you don't do that with me. And so those things can come up and then you find yourself, I came into this position in 2020 during COVID. And so I am the type of leader and choreographer, I have to have vision. I have to see it first. If it doesn't lie in my spirit and in my mind, it doesn't exist. And it was very difficult in that time because everything felt black. We had never been in this position before. I didn't know what the future would hold. And now I'm at the helm. And I have to create it. And I remember sitting and going, Nick, what are you going to do? And I said, well, everything is blown to smithereens. Do what you want to do. And I came in a time, early in my career with Deeply Rooted, where we were 8 weeks in, and then everyone would go away and gig. At the time, Eylar was a choreographer, a working choreographer, so he was going and creating works on other companies. And I remember being in the position as a dancer, craving more of that work, wanting more opportunity to do that work, the mission of Deeply Rooted. And so I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I expanded the contracts to 26 weeks. We used to have a roster of 10. I now have 16 dancers. We have health insurance for staff and dancers. That's huge for a company our size. And then I decided that I didn't want to do just the works of Kevin Eylar, Jeff, and Gary Abbott. I want to expand and make it a repertory company. So that's when we commissioned Vespers by Ulysses Dove. And so we premiered that at the Auditorium Theater. And I just wanted to do all the things that provide space for these dancers that are coming in that love the mission of our work, but they need other voices. They need to experience other things. And if I want them to stay and I want them to invest in me and I in them, I have to give them other opportunities and to grow and hear other voices and have experiences and do the works that this beautiful woman has done. I grew up watching you. I won't say grow up, that sounds like that's okay. Sorry about that. I love watching you. But so the tug of war inside of that requires on both sides the ability to stop and hear. And I hope and I know, I truly do believe that he trusts me and he understands that I understand the company cellularly, because I've gone through the ranks of it all and I've been impacted by not only the work, but who he has been as an artist, and I get it. And I took the job because I believe in it wholeheartedly, and I want to provide the same space that I was given as a young black woman in this field of dance that's pushing and trying to find herself and define who she is, not as just an artist, but in her entire totality. But I have to do it my way. I have to see the future for Deeply Rooted. It can't stay in a mausoleum. It can't be the past. I learn from the past. I allow it to, I have some big shoulders. He's 6'7", so I stand high. I see a long way here. Big shoes to fill. But I trust myself, and I trust that I have an anchoring, and I'm rooted inside of this mission, so I understand it and I don't go away from it, I just expand.
Thank you.
Can I
Oh,
add?
please.
Sorry, Michael.
Conversational, do it.
You know what's also weird, and you can add to this, everybody, that this position doesn't come with a manual. No. Right? So there's not this thing of, okay, so this is how you artistic direct. Like that you're almost shaping it and creating it on the fly. You know, you're trying to figure out what the organization needs and what do the dancers need, and you could feel that they needed more work, which actually kind of sharpens them, right, in a different kind of way. And so that has been, I think, a challenge for me. It's like, what do I do? Is this me? Do you need me to step in to do this? Or who does this thing here, right? And that you're really creating the pathway. And I think it's hard because if you've come into a company that has existed before you got there, you feel like you have to do it the old way or the way that it's been done before, but you really don't, because it's not the company that it used to be. It's the new thing, right? It's present, it's modern, it's contemporary. So I think that has been challenging, is trying to find my own pathway and my own leadership model. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience.
It's not just you trying to figure out, you know, and believe in how you do it, but I was at a night out in the park, so we had a performance, and the guy was asking me questions, and he stands up, he goes, well, I've known Kevin and Jeff for a number of years. What are you gonna do differently? How do I trust that you know what you're doing? I was like, let's see. You know, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But and that's pressure. You're thinking, well, our constituents, our audience is wondering now. So not everyone questioning me, but I just have to hold fast and like, well, let's go on this ride together and see how you like it, you know?
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Yeah, I think for us, if it were up to Dame Libby, which Irma and I, my partner in crime, artistic director, she would have had us all doing everything, because that's how you used to do it, you know? She was also a professor of Spanish dance at the university, and then she's choreographing, and then she's the lead dancer, and then she's running the company, and then she's taking the checkbook home to write the bills from her bed, you know, that night. So, and I think, bless her heart, she was able to give us that foundation, but then it got to a point, and I saw her when she sat us down, me and Irma, how she sort of wanted us to do both, but we had to set her down, and I love performing, and I love teaching. In fact, she had me by her side for our youth company at Frederick Funston School in Humboldt Park, which celebrates this year its 40th anniversary. And so Dame Libby was that giver. And so you create this passion, but we sat down with her and said, Libby, we can't do it all. Irma will be the artistic director, and I can help on the administrative executive. No, Jorge, you have all this talent. Okay. I will support Irma as associate director. Oh, okay, that's good. And, you know, she entrusted us, you know, with programming, and we sort of followed that model of, yes, you want to preserve, you know, the past, but then it's the dancers, and we were dancing the hunger of new and who's out there. And so she would listen to us. Ooh, how about bringing, you know, so-and-so Manolete? And she would say, okay, let me think about it. But she always gave in. It was like, yes. So we did that with our dancers. Now we have to listen to them, who's out there, who's current. And in our case, when you said that about an audience member, I think it was the North Shore, was it last year or the year before? I mean, Irma and I, we think we're doing a hell of a programming variety, bringing in the new, but still, you know, traditional works, and including honoring our beloved Dame Libby. But we were pulled aside, Irma and I, and we thought, oh, here comes someone to tell us how great they're. What are you guys doing? I mean, all this modern work. I mean, you know, where are Dame Libby's signature pieces? It's like, well, they'll be here. They're not going anywhere. But this show just had, you know, a variety of. Oh yeah. I don't understand. And men with skirts. I mean, what is that? It was a contemporary piece or whatever. It's like, yeah, men with skirts, but you'll see the women with skirts as well. And it was like, okay, well, thank you for coming. But that's the balance. That's the balance of trying to keep the traditional and the contemporary while honoring, you know, your beloved legacy. And right now for the Auditorium Theater, Irma and I, they're honoring women this year, all women-led companies, which is great. So we'll be honoring Irma, and then of course Dame Libby. And then we're like in programming, what do we, you know, so I think we are doing a wonderful tribute to our beloved Dame Libby. And then how do you keep 157 choreographies in our repertoire when a new artistic director comes in? It's like, that's a lot of pressure. So I'm glad that our board of directors this year for the 50th have given Irma the title of Artistic Director, Dame Libby Camacho, Ambassador Artistic. So when we do have, which we're in the process of getting a new artistic director of Spanish dance, Irma will stay on to support that artistic director with the older choreography so that there is always that balance. It was like, so I'm glad that they had that vision, because there are a lot of flamenco dance companies in this country or around the world. There aren't that many Spanish dance covering escuela bolera, folklore, clásico, flamenco, traditional and contemporary. So outside of the National Ballet of Spain, we're kind of it. And so how do we then preserve that? And then when we have auditions, it's not like we get the perfect Spanish dancer with all those styles coming in through the doors. That's where we rely heavily on our 4-year-old programs all the way through the youth program to get them into the apprentice. So that's also part of the legacy to keep that moving as well.
Sure. And you also can't please everybody.
And there is no manual either for being an executive director, I just want to point out. On both sides of the fence there. So something that is on my mind all the time, it's this notion in Chicago about how special we are and how unique this community is. And one of the things that makes it unique in my mind is the wonderful preponderance of female leaders. It is a true statement that nationally and internationally, many of the major dance companies are run by men. And look at this panel. Look at this panel of individuals and throughout this room. We just celebrated the passing of Shirley Mordine at the Dance Center this past weekend. She passed away in May at the age of 89. She was the founder of the Dance Center of Columbia College, just a striking more than 50-year presence here in Chicago. And it just became apparent that when you had people from her life and people from all of our lives here up on this stage, that we really do celebrate women in this community. So it's one of the things really special. Yeah. Okay, let's turn to a nasty subject. Let's talk about space. Because another thing that Chicago has difficulty sustaining good quality rehearsal, performance space. Well, not performance space, rehearsal, performance, right.
As well.
The point being that there's this quest always to find a place to call your own. Jorge, I'll start with you because you are a little bit of an outlier. You're in residence at Northeastern Illinois University.
Yes, we are. I mean, kudos to women. I mean, if we had a woman president, things would be different. I'm just saying, amazing women. But we also have amazing male leaders in Chicago that inspire us as well. And I don't know what their background, maybe they were inspired also by women, but I do want to say that there are amazing men, and I know there's one who's like a brother here to me, Mr. Lane Alexander, who we go way back, hiring us for his company in percussive, and we've never looked back, and I'm sure the inspiration is vice versa. And again, just looking at the room, my partner, my new partner in crime, Joanne Fern is what she does, and of course, it's Melody and Winifred. I mean, the list goes on. So that's the beauty of the Chicago community, which I think there's a question on that, is how we support and inspire. Space. All right, I do not want us to be the best kept secret when it comes to space. Even if you have your own space, how about knocking on the doors of cultural centers, universities, college institutions that can please take a look at your art form and help grow it in that community. Luckily, Northeastern, when Dame Libby came, with presenting a Spanish concert with her and her mom, who was a concert pianist, They never let her go. She became an artist in residence. 2 years later, she got this idea of forming Ensemble Español with 5 or 7 Northeastern students. And the beauty of it that we found, it made us grateful, was COVID. We knew we had a home to go back to. And then to hear our colleagues and friends closing doors, where it's like, oh my gosh, I immediately took the blame. Are we not voicing that they should be in residence in colleges and universities that have these amazing, facilities? And so that's one of the things that we definitely want to yell out. Even if you have your own space, you know what? Go knock on that community that has a state-of-the-art auditorium or high school and so forth that can enrich that community with your art form. And in our case, it is because of a partner like that we're able to make it to 50 years, on top of them giving us computer space. We have over 2,000 costumes for our 157 choreographies, and that's all housed there, in residence. And then of course, the old days of wood sets, we had to get rid of that, but we also had storage for the wood sets that the ensemble ballets have carried. So I think space come and goes. Could we have more space? Absolutely. We were just given a third studio. They said, Jorge, here you go, a third studio. We're so excited, but we don't have the money to turn it into a studio. It's like, okay, so now it's another executive director capital campaign to, So, and it's also, it does have its challenges. Every administration does not support the arts the way others have, and so you have to then recase yourself as to why it's important to support the arts and so forth. But I think we got that down pat now, that any university president, administration that comes in, the arts are just crucial. And the fact that we've been able to establish endowments for these kids to get scholarship support for their education, I think it's important. So yes, space is there. It's challenging. Could we have more? Absolutely. But then again, it's been a blessing for us being in residence.
Why don't you just pass the microphone on down? Do it that way.
Deeply Rooted has definitely benefited from the community, our dance community and relationships. In 1996, we started a beautiful relationship with Dan Duell and Patricia Blair, who are now dear friends of ours. So we've been working with Ballet Chicago, and we've been renting from them for 30 years now. We're entering our 30th anniversary. Thank you, Dan. But then we also expanded, and we've been working with Lane at Mayfair. As we worked and have been raising money, we now have $14.5 million towards a new building. It's going to be in Washington Park, the Deeply Rooted Dance Center for Creative and Black Communities. And so there's something to having a home. And when we open, because we have $5 million and we are working, when we break ground and we have that space, there's something to having something that has your name on it, and then you're opening up for other opportunities for other individuals. So it won't be just a home for Deeply Rooted, it will be a home for Momentum and other companies who will be coming in and having shared spaces. But it has been a challenge, but I will say that our dance community and our dance family has supported us throughout this, this entire time. Thank you, Dan.
We have made a transition in the last few years, and we're now at the Water Tower Place. If you have not been to the space, come on by as my guest. And I'm sorry I'm still fanning. I've been hot since 2 a.m.
No, keep fanning. I'm fanning here.
2 a.m. I was hot. I'm still hot. I apologize for the fanning. We made the difficult decision of selling the building some years ago because of our financial necessities. And thank goodness we did, because we're still here. And shout out to Dave McDermott for that survival tactic. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we want a home eventually, but I think in the meantime, we had to downsize, we had to make some sort of financial transition so that we could survive. And we're doing it. The water tower has been an elegant solution. We're able to get our work done in a beautiful, safe space. We're able to house all of our things. So all of our costumes, the production crew is actually there. It's actually quite extensive. But yeah, we want to get back to training young people in the space. We want to get back to training young adults. And real estate is really expensive. But we want to go about doing it the right way. We want to have a plan. If we want to have a certain amount of studios, we want to be able to pay for those studios. So I think we're in a unique position. It's that we can take this period of downsize and reflect and get what we really want and what the community really needs and what we can afford.
Anybody who hasn't seen it, it's really elegant to have the governor in the middle of the studio. At Water Tower.
The Governor Pritzker? Yeah. Thank you.
So I was taught at a very young age to take any space and make it great. And that is something I think we're all really good at. I've had the best of the best situations and the not so great, but we make them great. But let's talk about, we were housed in Evanston at the original Gus Giordano Dance School for 49 years until my father passed in 2008. And I always just say, the world changed after that. But, so we were rent-free for that whole time. And it was somewhat of a detriment being in Evanston. That's when my father added Chicago into our name, so that when we traveled the world, we've been in 27 countries, and many cities, I think around 1,500, people knew where we were from. Evanston, where's Evanston? But I too know that space is difficult. We have been up and down and all around for 10 years. Plans, drawings, architects, more plans, change of plans. Oh no, we have to change our path. So I just learned to just stay steady and let all these plans unwind and go around. We do have a lot of homes around the world, but we just don't own them. We have a lot of partnerships, and those are great because we can go and have a home, but it's not ours. But we do, it's been, again, 10 years, and we were just pulling permits, not me, but our builder, and then it dropped again. But we're very thankful it didn't go through, because the next day, literally, a new possibility, and that's how I live with possibilities, came to our table. I'm not saying anything. I'm not planning for it, but we do have an exciting potential possibility that is set forward very soon. We shall see, but just we don't let it stop anyone because it's been 10 years and one doesn't know. So we still grow, we still push. Al knows the plan, but he won't tell you either.
Nan, can I, we've moved on campus because, for example, the business of management got the money, and that particular president felt that that was more important than the arts, so we got placed into the gymnasium with all our costumes and office space, and then we got into the temporary J building until they build the new arts building. That was in 2007. Then we got hit with 2008 recession, and so we're still in the J building. I call it the Jorge building. But, our beloved founder, Dame Libby, she went. The other studios that the ensemble was born were more attached to the main campus. This is more, as she called it, I can't believe I'm ending my career in the trailer park. It is a one-level trailer. And our guest artist, Carmela Greco, told her, Irma, Jorge, and Dame Libby, it's not the four walls that make up an institution. Yes. It is the people. And we took that to heart. And we have had the biggest growth since 2007 in the J building.
Okay, I want to take one more question from the panel. I'm going to preface it with some words from Ashley, but then we're going to turn it over to some audience questions, so get ready for that. This is what Ashley wrote, the second part of his missive to us. Over the last 18 years, dance has exploded here in Chicago. That is a testament to each and every one of you. We have engaged our audiences, strengthened the positive impact of dance, reached into the community with multiple programs that inspire and engage, and played a vital role in the cultural fabric of our city. Our work is ongoing, and with so little government support, vital that we support each other. Partnership and collaboration are key components of this city. I also believe that Chicago is a unique city with the right attitude to make things happen. The greatest lesson I learned from Robert Joffrey is that our art form is ever changing, and we must embrace those changes head on and not be afraid to take risks. Over my time here, I put that to practice. We've challenged our audiences, dancers, and ideas. We've seen the incredible support from our board and all of our stakeholders. I believe the future is bright for our art form and for Chicago. The art plays a vital role in our lives. It completes who we are. With love and gratitude to you all. Ashley Weeder. So when I came to Chicago, also 41 years ago, as a dancer, there was this provincialism within the community. If you danced for that person, you didn't go take class over there. The exception was Gus Giordano. Gus just go out and do, right? But there was this, you're my dancer. It almost felt like ownership. And over the years, I've watched that barrier dismantle, and I think what caused it to happen is that many of the really quality dance programs across the country were producing dancers who were all attracted to come to Chicago. So you had roommates and friends who came to Chicago, and person A might be with Hubbard, and person B might be with Giordano. And it was those friendships and the economic reality of trying to, people room together, right? I think that took that barrier away. And we're at a place where Heather Hartley, who was the prior executive director of See Chicago Dance, called it co-opetition. A little cooperation, a little competition, but I think that's where we reside. So in this last round of questions, just give some thoughts about what you feel about this community, whether you think it's unique, whether there's something special, some Midwest value that percolates here. Just give some thoughts.
Well, first, I neglected to say that our home currently where we love is the Ruth Pace Center. Absolutely, and it's a historical, cultural treasure in our city. But I really think that Dance for Life has had a very large community with us going into our 33rd year, and other things, not just the dancers that come to the stage, but there's been a lot of other events, and I've seen a huge shift since the Dance for Life began. And the dancers are sitting in the wings, all the companies, they're looking so forward. Our dancers, we were speaking about it today, they're all in class, excited to be with all the other dancers. They're all friends. They have best friends in Hubbard Street, in Ensemble Espanol, in Deeply Rooted, and it is a different culture. I think it's Dance for Life for one, because not any other community has a annual event like it, and I just think it's hard. I think it's part of the Midwest culture. We have a lot of heart, and I think we've worked at it too. I mean, I've taught at Hubbard Street, Linda-Denise has been at us, we've done something with Ensemble Espanol, we've tried with Deeply Rooted, but we never got that date, but that's coming back. So, doing innovative things to be supporting of each other, and I think that's really, really important, and we do that. I'm very proud to be in our Chicago dance community.
I agree. When I got this position, I think it was publicly announced January 2021. And guess who called me? Nan, Nick, I spoke to these beautiful women who said, congratulations and welcome to Chicago. I can't wait to connect with you. That's unique. That really is. And I found that not only Dance for Life, But I think COVID did something different too. So all of a sudden, we were all online trying to figure out what to do. Like, oh my God, we gotta do another class. If I teach another class on this carpet in my living room, what am I gonna do? And so I think that's when we connected with each other as well. It's like, can we combine a class on Zoom? And I know at Hubbard Street, we've been actively reaching out to different companies. Come on in and let's do a co-joined day, right? So we did a Hubbard Street Giordano day, and we did a Hubbard Street Deeply Rooted day, and where all the company members are in the studio dancing together, warming up. And then we have a moment where we talk, right? We sit down and say, what are you guys doing lately? How can we support you? So I think, yes, Dance for Life, which is happening on Saturday, by the way.
I hear it's sold out though. We can speak
Yes.
to Michael Anderson, except for the balcony. The balcony, there's still some.
So Dance for Life, yes, but I think COVID really encouraged all of us to knock down silos more.
I echo all of those. I had a different experience when I'm originally from Joliet, Illinois. So when I graduated from Butler University, it felt like Chicago. You know, Joliet, if you don't know, is a small suburb south of here. And so it was like, where do I go? Who do I know? And I felt like this little, suburban girl trying to figure it all out. So the first place I went was Joel Hall Dance Center. And taking class there and starting to find friends and having Lisa Johnson Willingham as an instructor and Elena D. Anderson. And then they're like, well, if you like this, go over to Homer. So then I was go over to Homer Bryant. And so I kind of bounced back and forth. And with, again, the 8-week schedule and all these companies not really having the funding to expand the way that we are now, we did perform with each other. We did borrow dancers. We were never theirs per se. You knew that what your home was, but you were open to sharing with, and we got so much experience and so much knowledge from each instructor and each choreographer. So my experience was a little different. It had always been a familiar type of thing. But I think the Midwest, especially Chicago, put your collar up against the wind, put your head down and do the work, and when you come up, it's sunshine. That's what we have.
You shared with me a really sweet story about Nan.
You may tell that story?
Yeah, please tell that story.
Okay, Nan. Ready? So again, little suburban girl, my best friend and I were like, okay, we heard about this Giordano audition. We borrowed her car. This is the first time driving into Chicago. We go nowhere near Chicago. So by the time, Evanston. So that's probably why we weren't there. Almost an hour late. So we pull into the parking lot, and I'm like, I'm not going in. And she's like, we've got to go. We're here now. I'm like, I am not walking to this audition late. And so she convinces me to go in. And Nan looks at me, and she doesn't remember this. She goes, if you weren't so doggone pretty, I wouldn't let you in. But she didn't hire me, but the face got me in the door. Face karma. She didn't give me a job. But, yeah, she told me if you weren't so doggone pretty, I wouldn't let you in. I was like, thank you, Mom and Dad. So, that was it.
I think partnerships have always been important to Ensemble, going back to the 80s and 90s, having Hispanic heritage programs with the Mexican Folklore Company, Renacer Boliviano, Tango 21, Afro Caribe, which was wonderful. Also collaborating with my dear friend Stomping Grounds Lane, bringing back all these amazing companies as well. So collaboration has always been a part of our inspiration, but then it also goes on the administrative side. Oh my God, Gail Calver coming into us 30, 40 years ago to be that consultant, that giving person to help support us, and then you're another one. It's like, oh my gosh, sharing this knowledge. So it comes on both ends, and I think Chicago Dance Organization has also been vital to doing that, to supporting with. Now we've got 400 members, and it increased after COVID once we made membership free, thanks to our wonderful donors, which are another backbone to why we do what we do. I mean, there's just so many folks that support us there. We're like, okay, they believe in us, so we have to believe, in ourselves. But I think, and then institutions like the Auditorium Theater. I mean, Rich, Judy, you worked us even in the lobby to try and get us on the stage, but it happened in 2002. We were in the lobby, I think, for Celia Cruz concert, and however, we got to get you, or some other, and thank you for believing in us, and that was a game changer. It's like, oh my gosh, our works never looked so wonderful. And then Dance for Life, when we heard our dancers next to Joffrey, Hubbard Street, and the other guest organizations, and for them to feel, and we heard this, it's like, we've arrived. They see us. It's like, boy, we've been here for 30-some years, but I get it. But you know what? We understood that. It's like, that's the beauty of being embraced by our own dance community, which is important, no matter how big you are or how small. And then we know at the Auditorium Theater, we've also helped to open for Socorro Rivera and Paramar. It's like, okay, we were there, and we've got to pass it on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to pass the microphone to whomever has a question, and if you would just say your name.
Debbie
Okay?
Bernstein.
Well, no, into the microphone.
I got a big voice.
So the recording can get you.
Debbie Bernstein Siegel, I'm board member of See Chicago Dance. So you all direct repertory companies. So many rep companies across the country have had to fold for a variety of reasons. A variety of reasons. So do you see that is still a viable mechanism for presenting dance, being a rep company versus, say, a project only? And what do you think the future is for repertory companies?
I think the touring has changed vastly. It's very difficult for us as companies because presenters are not doing the types of tours with dance. Broadway shows and different things that really sell those tickets are happening. So it definitely, the culture has changed. APAP, which was like, APAP. It's like, oh God, are you going to APAP? Is anyone going? Are they booking dance? And so the culture has definitely changed, but this is where we have to be innovative. And we're just starting some new projects in a different focus, not just the concert arena, because that is changing. So I think you just have to stay on the pulse. And we're actually our company is stepping into the commercial world and doing it in a grand way. They're integrating concert dance in the commercial world of competition, which is not the world I like to sit in. I visit it, and then come back and come back. But that's part of our world. So how do we seep into that world? And they have money. That's where all the money sits. And we didn't seep into it for money. We didn't seep into it at all. Someone just came to us and approached me about a project, and now it's kind of, happening. But it's a difficult time for touring, 1,000.
I think, just like Nan, you just have to stay open to the different projects that come to you. And just to expand on the presenters. So different theaters, instead of the presenters having a calendar where they have 3 dance companies coming in during the year, now it's 1, right? And so they have to figure out what's that one dance company going to be, and it's thousands of us. And so what happens to the touring? Also, giving has changed, since COVID and beyond, and so that's been really difficult. So I think we love that rep lane. I love presenting different voices and promoting different choreographers, especially ones that maybe Chicagoans haven't seen before. But I am very open to different projects and collaborating with different folks.
Okay. Another question?
Yes.
Oh, Pierre.
Hi, I'm Pierre Lockett, with Four Movements in Chicago. My question is, I've seen all of your companies, and I think your dancers all dance with passion, excitement, very old school. And I know the way that you and we were all trained is very different from the way that people are trained or act today. My question is, how are you able to pull out of your dancers what you do when they want instant gratification without having to work for it?
You were in my rehearsal this morning. He's a spy. How did you do it? You know what? It's a fine line. It goes back to, holding on to what you know to be true, but seeing what is happening in the present. And so for me, with our dancers here at Deeply Rooted, there's a different way we were trained to work, and it was just go. And I appreciate the dancers now because they understand the beauty of having space and not always having to go. But now what I'm trying to get them to see is that when the push and the rigor is an investment. And that for me, I just told someone yesterday, the step is the imagination with the technical. That is the step. And the two being separate is non-negotiable. The step is you bring your point of view, who you are, mind, body, and spirit, and it's a muscle that must be worked every time left hand to the bar. So we don't wait until the music comes on, the lights go up, and my eyelashes are doing this. It's when I step into the ballet class with Patti Eylar, and I begin with pliés. The artistry has to be worked. And so when they start to see that and it breaks something open and they see there's a new way of moving and the body responds to it in a different way. Then when you work that way, we don't have to have the talks and the press play, press play again, for a 20-minute ballet. That's what we grew up under. But I just think that you have to show them their greatness. You have to show them their ability. You have to show them that they can go beyond. I had one dancer look at me, she's like, I'm gonna die. Not yet.
Not yet.
There is a light. Keep moving toward it. Keep going. And then she looked at me like, I made it. I'm like, you did. It's called the wall. And so, but once they get that and they start to build this trust, not with just you believing it, they start to understand themselves and they start to believe it that way. But you have to show it to them and guide it. You can't browbeat them into it. You can't do that.
I'm lucky in that in the audition process, that's what I'm looking for. And I think I make that clear when folks come in. Like I want dancers who are not afraid to work. And in the whole lineage of Hubbard Street, it's been that way. It was always full out Frida. We had to be full out in every rehearsal, every performance. And even when we train young people, like in our summer intensives, I sit down with each summer intensive student and we have a little talk back and they get to ask me questions like, what do you look for in a dancer? And I always say, you know what, I'll put it like this. Dance training is rigor. And I can tell when your body is not trained, you have not been through the rigor. And I give them this example. I have a daughter who runs track. So I'm a track mom. I spend a lot of time on the bleachers, just, being an armchair quarterback. Oh, faster, nobody's listening to me. And I said, when I am sitting there at the track, I can tell bodies who jump. I can tell bodies who throw a discus. I can tell bodies who throw a javelin. Because it's the practice and the rigor and the training that they've gone through. I can tell a sprinter. I can look at a long distance runner. I can look at a middle distance. It's not the size, it's the rigor and the training that shows up in their bodies. And in order to do that, you must do the work. And so I don't really have a problem. I think the culture of Hubbard Street is that, we doing this full out. And everybody knows. So even if you're new and you come in and you kind of want to take a break, you look around and go, oh God, nobody's taking a break. And so everybody kind of acclimates to that.
And excuse me, I would say that our dancers really hold up the bar of excellence. We don't have to. will come in and they're already going, and it's not even, so I think the bar of excellence just needs to stay high, and I think young dancers are looking for that, and if you don't want to be here, there you go. Because there's concert dance world, there's not many jobs, and so I think now really are the dancers that are getting into companies stay. Our dancers don't leave. And I think that is around the clock, so high bar of excellence.
Yeah, and I think we tend to feel our beloved legacy. You know, we're constantly, you know, when I'm in the studio there with Irma and Jose, it's like, what would Libby do? What would she say? There's already a bar with us giving the dancers what they need, and the expectation is there. And then come in the guest artists, who some have a beautiful language that they're not used to listening, and it's like, all right, there you go, you've got to get it together. To bring in former artistic director of the National Ballet of Spain, I know they get a nervous wreck or whatever, but no, that is the caliber of work that's already expected of you. So I think, go ahead and let them have it, let them see the way, let them feel the way the talent is there. I will say that this is a very talented generation. Mm-hmm. Sure, they may want shortcuts and so forth, but shortcuts aren't gonna get them anywhere, especially in a company. Mm-hmm. You know, if they're a soloist, but in a company, just, as my beloved Libby would say, get the whip out.
You can't photo shoot or Photoshop this stuff, I tell them.
No.
There is no zhuzhing it up, like you do on Instagram.
No AI.
Oh, no AI and stuff. You can't call it in, DoorDash it.
No,
It's gotta
you
be
can't do
here.
it. Yeah. And also, you can tell your dancers, your students, that shortcuts equal injury. You know what I mean? So like doing things fully so that the body knows by repetition and by pattern what it needs to do, and that it's strong and resilient. If you're doing a shortcut, you're not gaining that strength.
Great answers. One more question. Gail!
Come on down.
We know it's Gail.
Oh! God, it feels like chariots of fire here.
I'm Gail Calver. I've been around for 89 years. And as usual, I'm not going to ask a question. I'm going to say something. But first of all, I want to say, what a great conversation. It has been so enriching. We talk about space, we talk about dancers, we talk about so many support systems. One thing we haven't really talked about is how the landscape of theaters has changed in the 50 years I've been in the business here in Chicago. And now what we have is we have two huge players, the Auditorium and the Harris Theater. And for the first time in my memory, these two theaters are working hand in hand to support the dance community. They each have their support systems, their resources, their programs, their enrichments, and their dance series. And if we didn't have these two theaters, we'd be in sad shape, right?
Right.
Well, let's give them a round of applause. How beautifully they work together. You don't know this from the outside, but we from the inside know that there's a tremendous change in the camaraderie of Lori, Rich, and Judy, and the leaders of these two theaters. And it's very gratifying for all of us. Plus, of course, the Ruth Page Center, which is a service center as well. So if I missed anyone, sorry.
I want to add my thanks to our panelists, Nan, Linda-Denise, Nicole, and Jorge, for an extraordinary talk on what it means to be a Chicago dance dignitary. Thank you. So I'm gonna switch the conversation a little bit. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about Chicago Dance History Project, but I promise to be very brief because a lot of this information is in your program. I want to thank our board members, though. We have Michael Anderson, Patti, Eylar, Gail Calver, and Judy Moore Green here. 2 other board members who couldn't come, Kim Grigsby and Audrey Piper. That's our mighty number of 6 who run our organization. A round of applause for them. Chicago Dance History Project also has in the audience tonight 2 of our founders, Ginger Farley and Susan Manning. 2 of 4 people, the other 2 being Liz Liebman and Zach Wittenberg, who a number of years ago got together over food and said, what are we going to do to preserve the history of this rich community in which we prosper? And so many meals later, and here we are. The Dance History Project is now in its 10th year. And I really look at it as if we're in our 3rd phase. The first phase was about the first 8 years or so, when my predecessor, Janae Kutcher, came in and really worked to capture the oral histories of those people who are aging and ailing. Huge amount of effort on the gathering of that information so it wasn't lost. But in a small team like that, the other part of that didn't get the same amount of attention. That was finding a way to share those stories. So we've always been in partnership with the Newberry Library. We have Allison Hinderleiter here, the curator of the Midwest Dance Collection, among other things. If you don't know about this Midwest Dance Collection, it's made up of more than 100 smaller organizational archives, ours being one of them. And they're one of the best partners to get this work done. So that 8 years was about the gathering. Then there was a period of almost a year in which there was a transition from prior leader to current leader. And when I came in, we immediately cemented our partnership so that we were that we knew that, and we could promise to our community, that our archives would go to the Midwest Dance Collection, because that was a little left untouched at that moment, right? So since that time, when I came in October of 2023 to now, we revamped our mission, our values, our commitment to the field, communicated those things clearly, rebranded ourselves. We have a brand new website that's fantastic. And so that's really the second phase, right? First phase was the first 8 years. Second years was this, let's stabilize ourselves. Let's figure out what we do, what we don't do anymore, what we intend to do later. And now we're transitioning from this time of growth and stability into imagining what comes next. And it's really exciting because we have focused, of course, on oral history collection. We focused on audience engagement activities where we partner with the organization and the venue and tell the story of what's happening in that performance space, why that organization is important, why the venue is important, why those things collectively feed into the importance of Chicago dance. We've done that all around the city and we'll continue doing that. We also have the equipment in our our office, called the Preservation Station. It was money that came from the NEA and it came from DCASE to build the equipment so people can come into our office and free of charge. They can take their old VHS tapes and digitize them and have their own personal history. However, in the process, if something historical is revealed in that tape, then we have a discussion with Allison about, do we want to do this process of migrating the information from that individual, of course with full permissions, over to the Newberry. So these things that we do, these are our core programs: oral histories, audience engagement, and the Preservation Station. Those things we offer 100% free of charge to our community because we know that this important work wouldn't get done if people had to pay for it. The resources are just not there in most instances for an individual dancer or a small dance company to come forward. And it's also the time that it takes. This is very labor-intensive work. From the moment we engage someone to talk about doing an oral history, they're actually scheduling it, and then moving through the filming, the editing, the transcription work, the migration to the Newberry, all that effort on our end can take 28 to 32 hours worth of work. So we say that each oral history costs us more than $2,000 just to do that. And then there's the timing issue, right? One of the things that happened before when the stories were gathered but they weren't yet shared, there's this gap. People are like, you said that to me one time, where's my interview? And so we fixed that, right? We now have a firm schedule of once the oral history is edited, We put it onto our website. We hand it over to the Newberry, and it takes the Newberry some time to get it up into their portal, but we advertise on our website where it is in the process. So it's very important. We also then, we are collecting the stories, we're helping to record the stories, but they're not our stories. This is not our narrative to tell. So the moment, if we interviewed Judy tomorrow, after that 28 hours, 32 hours of work until it's edited, we would give Judy a link to her own story to tell in whatever way she wants. It's that person's story to tell. So that's the second phase. I mean, the third phase that we're in right now is this stabilization of these free programs. Now what's next? We are finding in the work we're doing that there are pockets of our community that are interconnected in ways that are kind of under the radar. And so we're looking at the assets that we have in our holdings, whether that is an oral history, or it's dance footage that we recorded, or it's programs and other things, the ephemera that have been scanned. We have stuff. The Newberry has stuff. And we're finding pockets of community that also have stuff. So now we put it in an application to a major foundation to do a planning grant to figure out how to bring these collections together so that we can tell the story more thoroughly. And every time we talk to one person, we find another connection. So in your program, this all falls under our new fund, which is called the South Side, West Side Fund, because many of these stories that are not told are from those parts of the city and those communities and those dance forms that are part of the city. And we have begun to talk with the Mayfair Fine Arts Academy and Performing Company Collection, which was part of the history of Lane's, now the Mayfair Art Center, the Shirley Hall Bass Collection, and the Sammy Dyer School of the Theater Collection. If you start looking at the way that those organizations ran together and worked together, it's extraordinary. It ties into the Regal Theater down in Bronzeville. It ties into the Muriel Abbott dancers at the Palmer House. All of these things tie together, and we need help in moving those collections forward. The other new fund that we have is called Collections, and it's all the other work that we do, but it also then allows room for those organizations that don't fall into those geographic parts of the city. And one of the things that we have been pushing for is to preserve the history of Mo-Ming Dance and Art Center, which was on the north side for a number of years. It was very important to the dance community, and there's still many of us. Maggie Cast, where are you, Maggie? Maggie's here. Oh, there you are, right in front of me. Folks whose careers launched and were nurtured during those years. So that's another fund that we've created so that we are looking more broadly at support to help us. Tonight we said, you know what, you folks all paid $300 to come here. We're not going to do a paddle race. We are not going to do a raffle. Instead, we're going to ask you for 2 bits of help. First help is if anything that we have spoken to you about tonight and you read in our programs has inspired you in any way, please reach out to a board member, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation about where you might help us financially or community-wide, some way that reveals to us your interest in what we have to offer so that we continue to preserve with urgency the community's history. It was Sherman Dilla Thomas, who is known as the Chicago historian, who once said, I heard him on a web call, he said, the reason we preserve history is because if we don't, 50 years from now, it's as if you didn't exist. Yeah. And I would add to that, if we don't preserve all of the histories within a community, then you have bias towards one person's recollection. So we really are looking to find as many connections in the Shirley Hall Bass and the Mayfair Art Center and the Sammy Dyer School of Theater. Those are all things that intertwine and interconnect in such an extraordinary way. So speak to us, reach out to us, talk to us about your interest in finding something in those programs, whether it's artistic, whether it's the mechanical side of archiving, whether it's the archival practice. We're working now with, we got an extraordinary grant from the Justice Advisory Council of Cook County. And they gave us $100,000 over 2 years, which for a budget size of ours is meaningful money. And it allowed us to do 3 things. One, we gave more extra hours to Sean over there on the videography. Secondly, we had 21 to 22 terabytes of information replicated in 2 separate hard drives that were sitting in our office. That was the history of the community in 2 different drives. We've now engaged Lightway Solutions to migrate those up into the cloud while we're getting ready to migrate things ultimately over to the Midwest Dance Collection, so those things are preserved and protected. The last thing is that we hired our first ever, somebody starts with manager. It's our public engagement and diversity manager. Sometimes we say manager first, and I got lost there for a minute. Their public engagement and diversity manager. Her name is Liliana Macias. And when we had extraordinary response to this job, and we were able to find someone who not only has the skills we thought we needed, but brought with her cultural work and historical work. So Chicago Dance History Project is now poised to be able to look into communities differently, to rewrite our policies and our practices that make sense for communities we don't normally touch, so that we're not extracting things, but we're engaging communities in the right way. We had, when we began, we had to find, out of necessity, that dance in Chicago was ballet, modern, jazz, tap. That's where we began. That's where our knowledge base was. But we realized that there is more dance going on in Chicago than that. And how do you get into those communities? And now that Liliana is with us, we are able to have the knowledge and the information to move ahead. And we're forming our first ever advisory council to help us rewrite those policies and those practices so that we're doing this in the right way without doing harm. That brings me to connections. We have found so many times, I'll be talking with you and then you'll talk to me about somebody else, and I wasn't aware. If you have connections into parts of the dance community or to the archival or the preservation side of things, we rest firmly with 1 foot in the arts, 1 foot in the humanities, 1 foot in dance, 1 foot in archives. That's 4 feet. Right? That's what we're straddling now. So in this time of change and growth, that's where we're headed, to better tell the story of Chicago dance with more thorough archival and preservationist work than we've ever done before, respectfully, ethically, predictably. So we ask you tonight, certainly if you want to make a donation, there is a QR code in your program, and Maddie will help you with that. But we would really like to have conversations with each and every one of you to see how we can continue to build interest in what we're doing. Thank you.